The Ark of the Covenant. Where is it hidden? The greatest biblical mystery. Imagine a relic so powerful that it split rivers, toppled city walls, and struck men dead on the spot. A golden chest, handcrafted according to divine instructions, covered in pure gold with two mighty cherubim overshadowing its lid, the very throne of God on earth. A sacred artifact that once carried the very presence of the Almighty. But then, suddenly, it vanished. For centuries, kings and conquerors have searched for it. Archaeologists, historians, treasure hunters, and even secret societies have spent their lives chasing clues. Some believe it was stolen, hidden away in an underground vault. Others claim it was smuggled to a far-off land. And some say it has transcended this world entirely. So where is the Ark of the Covenant? Could it still exist? And if it does, why hasn't it been found? This is more than just an ancient mystery. It's a story woven into the fabric of faith, history, and prophecy. Because if the Ark is ever discovered, it could change everything we know about the past and the future. Buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of all time. Chapter 1. The Ark of the Covenant. What was it? The Ark of the Covenant wasn't just a religious artifact. It was the most sacred object in Israel's history, the very place where God's presence dwelled among his people. The Ark wasn't simply a golden box. It was the footstool of the Almighty, the physical sign of his covenant with Israel. But what exactly was the Ark? What was inside it? And why was it so powerful? The divine blueprint. How the Ark was made. The first mention of the Ark comes directly from God himself. In Exodus 25:10-22, the Lord gives Moses specific instructions on how to build it. Made from acacia wood, a strong and durable material resistant to decay, covered inside and out with pure gold, symbolizing its heavenly nature. Two cherubim, angelic figures, were placed on top, facing each other, their wings outstretched, forming the mercy seat, the very place where God's presence would appear. Rings and poles were attached to carry it, because no one was allowed to touch it directly. This was no ordinary box. It was a holy throne, a weapon of divine power, and a reminder of God's covenant with his people. What was inside the Ark? God commanded Moses to place 3 sacred items inside the Ark. Hebrews 9:4, 10 Commandments, the stone tablets given to Moses on Mount Sinai, containing God's law, Aaron's rod, a miraculous staff that had budded, proving Aaron's God-given priesthood, a golden jar of manna, a reminder of how God provided for his people in the wilderness. Each of these items represented a part of Israel's relationship with God, his law, his leadership, and his provision, the presence of God and the Ark's power. But the Ark was more than just a container of sacred relics. It carried something far more powerful, the very presence of God. When Moses entered the tabernacle, the Shekinah glory of God appeared above the mercy seat. On the Day of Atonement, the high priest would sprinkle blood on the Ark's lid, seeking forgiveness for Israel's sins. Whenever the Ark was present, it was as if God himself was there, leading his people. And where God's presence was, miracles happened. Chapter 2. The Power and Miracles of the Ark. The Ark wasn't just a symbol, it was a force of divine power. Wherever it went, miraculous events followed. When it was honored, it brought victory, blessings, and divine guidance. But when it was mistreated, it brought destruction and death. Let's look at some of the most dramatic moments in biblical history where the Ark displayed its power. 1. The parting of the Jordan River, Joshua 3:14-17. After 40 years in the wilderness, the Israelites finally stood at the banks of the Jordan River, ready to enter the Promised Land. But there was one problem. The river was at flood stage, an impassable barrier. God's solution: send the ark ahead. The priests carrying the ark stepped into the water, and immediately the river stopped flowing. The waters were held back, and the Israelites walked across on dry ground, just like the Red Sea miracle. The ark was no ordinary relic. It was a gateway to God's power. 2. The fall of Jericho, Joshua 6:1-20. Jericho was a mighty fortress, its walls seemingly impenetrable. No army could break through. But God had a different plan. For 7 days, the Israelites marched around the city, carrying the ark. On the 7th day, they circled it 7 times, and at the final trumpet blast, the walls collapsed instantly. No weapons, no siege engines, just the presence of God in the ark. 3. The ark is captured and brings destruction. 1 Samuel 4:6. But the ark wasn't a magical object to be used at will. When Israel turned from God and tried to use the ark like a lucky charm in battle against the Philistines, they were crushed, and the ark was stolen. The Philistines placed the ark in the temple of their god Dagon, but the next morning they found Dagon's statue face down before the ark. They set it back up, only to find it shattered the next day. Then came plagues, disease, rats, and death swept through every Philistine city where the ark was kept. Terrified, they rushed to return it to Israel. Lesson learned: the ark wasn't a tool for human purposes. It was God's presence itself, and it could not be controlled. 4. The ark returns, but Uzzah dies. 2 Samuel 6:1-7. King David rejoiced when the ark was finally returned to Israel. But as they transported it on a cart, something shocking happened. When the oxen stumbled, a man named Uzzah reached out to steady the ark and was struck dead instantly. Why? Because God had commanded that no one was to touch the ark. His holiness was not to be taken lightly. The ark's power: a blessing or a curse. The ark was both a gift and a warning. It led Israel to victory, but when they disrespected it, it brought judgment. This raises a question: where is the ark today? And if it were found, would it still hold power? Many believe it disappeared forever. Others are convinced it still exists, hidden away, waiting to be revealed. And that's exactly what we're going to explore next. Where is the Ark of the Covenant now? Chapter 3. The Ark in the First Temple. After years of war, exile, and wandering, the Ark of the Covenant finally found a permanent home: the Temple of Solomon. This was the pinnacle of Israel's spiritual and political power, the golden era where the Ark wasn't just a traveling relic, but the heart of the nation's worship. But this period of glory wouldn't last forever. And what happened next set the stage for one of the greatest mysteries in history: the disappearance of the Ark of the Covenant. King David's mission to bring the Ark to Jerusalem. Before the Ark rested in Solomon's temple, it had been kept at Kiriath Jearim for nearly 20 years. 1 Samuel 7:1-2. When David became king, he knew Jerusalem could never truly be Israel's spiritual center without the Ark. So he personally led a mission to bring it back. But there was a problem. The Ark had to be treated with absolute holiness. At first, they transported it incorrectly on a cart, which led to Uzzah's death when he touched it. 2 Samuel 6:1-7. David, terrified, left the Ark at the house of Obed-Edom, where it brought unimaginable blessings to his household. 2 Samuel 6:11. Finally, David brought the Ark to Jerusalem the right way, carried on poles by the priests, with sacrifices and worship. 2 Samuel 6:12-15. Solomon builds the first temple, the Ark's final resting place. David longed to build a permanent home for the Ark, but God gave the task to his son, Solomon. Solomon's temple was magnificent, covered in gold, and built to house the very presence of God. And at the heart of the temple, in the Holy of Holies, the ark was placed. 1 Kings 8:60-11. When the priests placed the ark inside, something incredible happened. A cloud filled the temple, and the glory of the Lord overwhelmed the priests. 1 Kings 8:10-11. This moment marked the high point of Israel's history, God dwelling among his people, his presence resting in the temple. For centuries, the ark remained there, unseen by anyone except the high priest, who would enter the Holy of Holies once a year, on the Day of Atonement. But then, disaster struck. The last mention of the ark in the Bible. The Bible records many stories about the ark leading up to its placement in Solomon's temple, but after that, it suddenly disappears from the narrative. The last clear reference to the ark is during King Josiah's reign, 2 Chronicles 35:3, where he instructs the priests to return the ark to the temple, suggesting that at some point it had been removed. Then, the most devastating event in Israel's history occurred. Chapter 4. The Disappearance. What happened to the ark? In 586 BC, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon invaded Jerusalem, ransacked the temple, and completely destroyed it. But there's something strange in the biblical record. The Babylonian invasion. Did the ark get taken? The book of 2 Kings 25 gives a detailed inventory of the treasures the Babylonians stole from the temple: gold, silver, bronze, and sacred items. But there is no mention of the ark. Why? Was it taken by the Babylonians but never recorded? Was it destroyed in the fire, reduced to ashes? Or was it hidden before they arrived? Several theories try to explain what happened next. Theories about the ark's fate. Theory 1. The ark was hidden in the Temple Mount. Some scholars believe that knowing Jerusalem was about to be invaded, the priests may have hidden the ark somewhere beneath the Temple Mount. This theory is supported by the lack of any mention of the ark being taken by the Babylonians, the existence of tunnels and chambers beneath the Temple Mount, which could have served as a hiding place, the fact that excavations under the Temple Mount are forbidden, meaning if the ark is there, we may never know. However, political and religious tensions make it almost impossible to investigate. If the ark is there, it remains untouched, waiting to be discovered. Theory 2. The ark was taken to Ethiopia. One of the most famous legends claims the ark is in Axum, Ethiopia. According to Ethiopian tradition, the ark was taken by Menelik I, the supposed son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. He brought it to Ethiopia, where it has been guarded for over 3,000 years by Ethiopian priests. It is said to be kept in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion, where only a single guardian priest is allowed to see it. While this theory is fascinating, no one has ever been allowed to verify if the ark is actually there. Theory 3. The ark was hidden in a cave by Jeremiah. The prophet Jeremiah was active during the time of Jerusalem's fall, and some believe he secretly hid the ark before the Babylonians could take it. This theory comes from 2 Maccabees 2:4-8, which states that Jeremiah hid the ark in a cave on Mount Nebo, modern-day Jordan, and sealed it, saying it would remain hidden until God gathers his people again. Many treasure hunters have searched for it, but no one has found any evidence. Theory 4. The ark is in the Vatican. Some conspiracy theorists believe the ark is hidden in the Vatican's secret archives. Why? The Catholic Church holds many ancient artifacts. Some believe the ark was recovered during the Crusades and brought to Rome. The Vatican has highly restricted archives that the public is not allowed to see. However, there is no solid historical evidence for this theory. Theory 5. The ark is in heaven. The final theory isn't about a physical location at all. In Revelation 11:19, the Apostle John describes a vision of the Ark of the Covenant in God's temple in heaven. Some believe this means the Ark was never meant to be found on earth. It served its purpose and has been taken into the heavenly realm. The real Ark was only a shadow of something greater, the presence of God Himself. What happens if the Ark is found? If the Ark still exists on earth, what would happen if it were discovered? Would it still hold miraculous power? Would it change the world's view of biblical history? Could it play a role in end-time prophecy? The Bible suggests the Ark is no longer needed because Jesus fulfilled its purpose. The presence of God is no longer in a golden box. It's in the hearts of His people. But one thing is certain, the mystery of the Ark isn't over. Could it be hidden in a cave, buried beneath the Temple Mount, or locked away in a secret chamber? Or has it transcended this world entirely? One day the truth may finally be revealed. Chapter 5. Theories of the Ark's location. For centuries, scholars, treasure hunters, and theologians have debated one burning question. Where is the Ark of the Covenant? While the Bible remains silent about its fate after the First Temple, history and legend have provided 5 main theories about its whereabouts. Each theory offers a compelling case, but which one is the truth? Theory 1. Hidden in the Temple Mount. One of the most widely accepted theories is that the Ark was never taken out of Jerusalem. Instead, it was hidden beneath the Temple Mount before the Babylonian invasion. Why this theory makes sense. The Ark is missing from Babylonian records. They looted everything from the temple, but there's no mention of the Ark in their inventories. The Temple Mount is filled with underground tunnels and chambers. Even today, much of it remains unexplored. Jewish tradition supports this idea. Ancient rabbinic writings mention that the Ark was hidden before Jerusalem fell. The problem. The Temple Mount is one of the most sensitive religious sites in the world. Excavating there is nearly impossible due to political and religious tensions. If the Ark is truly there, it may never be uncovered. Theory 2. Taken to Ethiopia. One of the most famous legends about the Ark comes from Ethiopia. According to Ethiopian tradition, the Ark was taken by Menelik I, the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. He brought it to Ethiopia, where it has been guarded for over 3,000 years by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Today, the Ark is said to be inside the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Axum, where a single guardian priest is appointed to watch over it. Has anyone seen it? No. The Church refuses to allow anyone, even high-ranking officials, to view the Ark. The only person allowed near it is the appointed guardian monk, who spends his entire life in isolation with the relic. The problem. Without evidence, this remains a story, not proof. Many scholars believe that Ethiopia does possess an ancient replica of the Ark, not the real one. Theory 3. Hidden in a cave by the prophet Jeremiah. The book of 2 Maccabees 2:4-8, a historical text, though not included in all Bibles, claims that the prophet Jeremiah hid the Ark in a cave on Mount Nebo, modern-day Jordan, before the Babylonian invasion. Jeremiah supposedly sealed the cave and declared that the Ark would remain hidden until God's appointed time. This fits with biblical events. Jeremiah was active during the fall of Jerusalem. Mount Nebo is significant in biblical history. It's where Moses stood and looked into the promised land before he died. Has it been found? Treasure hunters and archaeologists have searched Mount Nebo for decades, but no Ark has been found. The problem. This theory relies on a non-canonical source, and there's no historical proof that Jeremiah actually hid the Ark there. Theory 4. The Vatican has it. Some conspiracy theorists claim that the Ark is hidden inside the Vatican's secret archives. Why? The Vatican is known for possessing vast religious artifacts. Some believe Crusaders recovered the Ark during the Middle Ages and brought it to Rome. The Vatican's archives are highly restricted, fueling speculation. The problem: there is zero historical evidence to support this claim. No document, no testimony, just rumors. Theory 5. The Ark is in heaven. The final theory doesn't involve a physical location at all. Revelation 11:19 states, "Then God's temple in heaven was opened, and within his temple was seen the Ark of his covenant." Some believe this means the Ark has been taken to heaven and is no longer on earth. It was never meant to be found. It served its purpose and now exists only in God's heavenly kingdom. The problem: while this is a spiritual perspective, it doesn't explain what happened to the physical Ark, which still had to be dealt with somewhere on earth. Chapter 6. What if the Ark is found? For thousands of years, people have searched for the Ark. But what would happen if it were actually discovered? Would it still hold divine power? Would it prove the Bible's truth to the world, or would it bring about the end times? 1. Would it still hold power? In the Bible, the Ark caused miracles and destruction. Would it still be just as powerful today? Or was its power tied to God's presence, which is no longer inside it? Some believe the Ark's holiness is eternal, while others argue it was a temporary vessel for God's presence. 2. Would it change the world's faith? A confirmed discovery of the Ark would be one of the greatest archaeological finds in history. It would provide physical proof of the Bible's authenticity. But would it lead people to faith, or would they treat it as a mere artifact? 3. Could it play a role in end times prophecy? Many believe the Ark could be used in the rebuilding of the Third Temple in Jerusalem, a key event in biblical prophecy. Some Jewish leaders believe that finding the Ark would allow them to restore the temple worship of ancient Israel. Some Christians believe that its rediscovery would be a sign of the end times. If the Ark were found, it wouldn't just be a historical discovery, it could shake the entire world. Conclusion: the Ark and our faith today. So after all of this, does it really matter where the Ark is? Yes, the Ark was one of the most powerful and sacred objects in biblical history. It carried God's presence. It led Israel to victory. It held the 10 Commandments. But here's the truth: we don't need the Ark anymore. The Ark was a symbol of God's presence with his people. But with the coming of Jesus Christ, God's presence is no longer in a golden box. It's within us. Jesus is the true Ark. He is the meeting place between God and man. The new covenant replaces the old. We don't need an earthly Ark because we have the Holy Spirit living in us. The presence of God isn't lost. It's here, now, with those who believe. So while the search for the Ark continues, remember this: the real treasure isn't a golden chest hidden in some cave. The real treasure is the presence of God, available to all who seek him. That is something no one can steal, no one can hide, and no one can take away. Final thought: will the Ark ever be found? Maybe, maybe not. But what's more important is that you seek the presence of God in your own life. Because that's the real mystery. Not where the Ark is, but whether you'll choose to follow the God it represented. So what do you think? Could the Ark still be out there? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, because this story is far from over. The end.